The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century presents.
Welcome in, Podcast Padawans, to the AHSOKA Archives, our discussion and review of the Disney Plus series, Star Wars AHSOKA. And before we get started, I'd like to tell you, my name is Jared.
Hey, everybody. My name's Matt.
I'm Brian.
I'm Lindsey.
The whole clan.
We've got the Star Wars crew together once again.
Stuffed them in the Millennium Falcon, that dirty old ship, and sent out to space to review.
Last seen on the Carbonite Chronicles for Mando Season 3.
Right.
And now we've reconvened. We're
Listen,
back.
why don't we, before we really get into this, because there's a lot to talk about, give everybody a warning that if you have not watched Star Wars Ahsoka, are you ready, Jared?
You know what I have?
What do you got?
I have the spoiler thermal bomb.
Oh,
Oh, you've got the sonic charge from the Slave One.
Yeah, it's all
What
messed
has
up
happened
here.
to that poor toy,
I
man?
don't. Are you sure
That
that,
is
thing can launch
sad.
a sonic bomb? I don't know that it
Okay,
has
What-
the
what-
let's give it a
capabilities.
shot. Let's
For you
give it a
listeners,
shot.
I'm sorry, we're looking at a husk of Slave One. I don't know
Yeah,
what
I was
happened.
gonna say, is
Hey,
that
listen.
thing even going to function?
Listen, here we go.
All right.
Okay, all right, Boba. Let that charge go. Ow!
It's your own fault. You called on the Book of Boba Fett to get it right.
Hey, listen. Come on. The Book of Boba Fett was okay. Come on. Okay, Boba, do it now.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
We're spoiling this
That's prop
entire
comedy,
show
everybody.
from start to finish. So if you have not watched Star Wars Ahsoka, we will be telling you everything. So I highly recommend you watch the show, then listen to the podcast.
Absolutely. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
We start in the Well of the Souls, where she Ahsoka has to navigate around asps. Very dangerous.
Well,
You
okay.
go
Well, hold on.
first.
Before we talk about the actual show, the details, I will say my first impression was this felt very Star Wars to me.
I could feel that. Yes.
Like there's been a lot of kind of criticism on some of these recent shows coming out from Star Wars that they've kind of taken a little bit of a departure. This show to me felt very Star Wars. So it felt
I agree.
good. It felt good.
I liked it. It was fun. It felt like the kind of fun Star Wars that Mando felt a little bit like in season 1 and 2. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just fun Star
Yes.
Wars stuff is happening.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It was like I go back to my Coca-Cola analogy. Andor's cherry
So-
Coke. This felt like drinking Coke Classic.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Doesn't mean it's perfect. I've got things to say.
So do I.
I
As I
prefer
always
Pepsi
do.
over Coke.
Really? Are you crazy?
You know what?
I'm correct.
I'll tell you this.
Okay.
Are you?
Then we'll get back. So growing up, for a good chunk of my youthful childhood, my dad worked for Pepsi.
Oh, okay.
And all we had in the house was Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, regular Pepsi, and Pepsi products. And we never had Coke. So I love regular Pepsi. I love Diet Pepsi. But it can't replace Coke. Because once I finally had Coke in my hand, I'm like, this.
Okay, so I'm gonna isolate that sound clip where Mike where Matt says, "Well, I finally had Coke in my hand." This.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
Okay, I got you.
Send that to Coca-Cola.
Hey,
Not
guys,
sponsored.
how about we get another Star Wars map quest?
I have
Oh,
things
man.
to say about that.
I do feel like we really ruminated on Ahsoka figuring out that room puzzle. Like I felt like I was in a video game figuring out that room puzzle.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I
Although-
couldn't see it. It was
You know
just a lot of turning. Very zen turning.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of The Fifth Element.
Yep.
The
Oh,
scene
like
at
the
the end where
moment-
they have
I
the
agree.
stones.
Yes.
There's a
The
lot
one
of
that popped up.
callbacks. Yeah.
Yes.
So again, before we really get into the details, I want to say overall, I thought this show was a lot of fun. I think that the action sequences were fantastic when they happened. I will say, though, and I'm sure this will change as the show progresses, I do feel that in between action, it had incredibly slow pacing, though. I felt that dialogue scenes, to your point, Lindsey, you really felt that you were in the video game going through all the steps.
Let's
I think 'cause
recreate.
she was alone there. I think because she was alone there. In scenes with other people, I feel like it's nice to breathe with their relationship, especially for me who doesn't know what's going on with them.
Yeah. And I don't disagree. I just felt that a lot of the scenes were very slow.
Let's recreate a dialogue scene. Ahsoka, what are you doing here?
Are you here to see?
Funny you
me?
should ask. I thought we had decided to end this relationship.
Now, I'm not complaining because I did really enjoy the show, but I think that to Lindsey's point, I think she nailed it. She's new to the characters, and this is a way to help build it in. And I'm sure by the time this show progresses into later episodes, it will pick up and it will be faster.
That's actually what I've been most interested to hear, because the three of us know Clone Wars and Rebels. Lindsey, for the mostly uninitiated, how did this play for you?
Yeah, I have just some Rebels osmosis, like from you guys, from the internet, just being Rebels being all of this stuff. So I thought it was great at making me feel like it was giving me enough background on who everyone was and what their relationships were. I almost could have used more of it. Like the stuff, like it's okay if I don't know exactly what it's about. I feel like it's enough to give me little hints. And I think they did a lot of that, like with the stuff with Ezra and his little hologram. It's hinting towards things. I know a little bit. So I'm like, I'm not completely clueless, but I almost could have used even more. Like, it's okay if I don't know exactly what they're referencing places, but what I didn't know, which I did find out after, I thought all this stuff with Sabine and Ahsoka and their failed apprenticeship situation, I thought, based on what I was seeing, that also must have happened in Rebels, but I learned that is not true.
Right.
So to me, that's like they did a good job of blending, trying to explain some backstory that was in Rebels and trying to catch you up on some stuff that wasn't in Rebels. And I feel like I don't know who any of these people are. Why should I care if I don't care? And I feel like taking it a little slow to let you live with them, mostly Sabine. I keep saying it right? Sabine. Mostly with her and her Lofcat. I love that. Like hanging out with these people for a minute before everything pops off, probably in the next couple episodes. I liked it. But you're right. I think the dialogue thing Jared's talking about a lot comes from Ahsoka, who I have seen the most of. So I feel like maybe it's okay, at least right at the beginning. We don't get as much from her yet.
Yeah, she was kind of like that in Mando too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
It was a very similar direction, or how she portrayed it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of people that I talked to that had not seen Rebels or Clone Wars. One was my wife's seen some of the stuff, but she had questions while we were watching it the other night. And then I have a friend of mine, and he sent me a text. He watched it last night, and he really enjoyed it and loved how they kind of dug into some of the lore and different things. But he's not seen any of that. He doesn't know anything about the Night Sisters of Dathomir or any of this stuff. But he really dug it, and he's excited about where it's heading.
Interesting.
By the way, real quick. So Sabine, when we first meet Sabine, did anybody else get a James T. Kirk reboot feeling, like when he was a kid in the car running away from the cops?
The music.
I felt that was like a whole recreation of the James T. Kirk scene from the reboot when he was a kid.
That didn't enter my mind at all.
That's all I thought about the entire time. It's almost like sabotage. The music was almost like sabotage, by the way, if you listen to it.
It's like the rebellious.
One of the few things
of the act also.
One of the few things that I did talk to Lindsey about today at work, because we worked together all day and it was impossible.
I said, Jared, we can't talk about it.
And I said, okay.
Well, we're right here and we're going to talk about it for a second.
One of the things. Okay. So initially when she's on a speeder bike and I heard that like punk rock music, I was immediately irritated. But then I started hearing the weird Huttese language, and I was like, okay, all is forgiven. I kind of like that.
It took me by surprise, but I liked it because I'm thinking, why there should be music like this in their world? Why not?
It's not just cantina band music
right
all over the place.
No, I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
I
was like, some people are not going to like it, but I thought it was great.
I think I liked it. I think we talked about this a little bit too. Is in the Jedi Fallen Order game, that game starts with a scene sort of like that. You get this like this music. I can't recreate it. I'm not going to try. But this like rock music that's playing. You're like, what? And then just like this, you realize it's what the character is listening to. Is like this in-universe music, and it makes it a little more like digestible that it's happening in the scene.
And I thought that that's music that she was listening to as she was driving too.
Yeah.
It's not just something they layered on top and said, we're going to make this edgy. But okay, I want to talk about our two dark Jedi people because Baylan Skoll, I love that guy.
I do too.
Yeah, and it just breaks my heart.
He died.
That he died.
I didn't know that.
That just crushing. I mean, because you know he finishes out this season, and probably his character will probably be alive potentially.
Yeah,
if they don't
kill him off. But I actually liked both of those characters quite a bit. He almost had Shin, who was his apprentice, was almost like kind of a rabid dog almost. Like just wanting to go after people. But he was, I think, one thing came to mind, and Matt likes to say he was DNA Star Wars. That's what that guy felt like to me.
Absolutely.
Like just the things he was, his whole, and I don't even know what these people are. There's two of them. I don't think they're, they don't claim to be Sith. They don't claim to be Jedi. They're obviously, they're mercenaries. I believe it's explicitly spelled out. They work for whoever pays them. But those two are really interesting, and I hope we learn more about what they're doing.
You know what really impressed me was that Baylan has a great reverence for the Jedi, and probably all of it. That very last scene in the second episode, and they're talking about, we need to kill Ahsoka basically, and he's like, that would be a super shame to do that. I mean, and just the reverence he has for the Jedi.
And she tries to like call that out, and he's like, no, it would suck.
She said sentimentality, and he says truth.
Yep.
And I don't know. I like that guy. And his apprentice. I want to know what they're up to, and I think we'll find out more.
So while we're talking about them, follow me on this circuitous route here. So Ahsoka in the series is kind of portrayed as kind of like a freelancer in the New Republic. She kind of, I think, can go and do what she pleases, investigating things as she pleases. And we find out that she's kind of hot in the trail of a map because Thrawn is rumored to be suspected that they're trying to get him back into the galaxy. So she has heard about a map, or her prisoner in the beginning that she had captured one of Thrawn's lackeys,
Morgan Elsbeth,
who got jailbroke in the beginning, is trying to locate a map that will locate where in the galaxy or galaxies Thrawn is, and she's trying to get him back. And that's kind of like the crux of our plot here. But here's the thing, right? Now I'm going to go back to Baylan. It's Baylan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, Baylan.
This, by the way, takes place shortly after the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian in the timeline. Not far, though. But it's pretty close.
No. Yeah.
Some of the things that my brain kept going to, which was annoying, was she knows Luke Skywalker. She's friendly with Luke. She has a good relationship with Luke. How is it that two Force users, one was a verified former Jedi, has now surfaced or resurfaced, and Luke has not been notified? That wasn't even the first, like, immediately Luke Skywalker should have been brought into the mix, that a Force user and former Jedi have surfaced. And this should have been on his radar immediately. He should have been brought in, knowing that they're friends. So I don't understand why Luke Skywalker wasn't a part of even just mentioning it to him and not even having him on screen. This to me would have been an important thing in the New Republic with Luke Skywalker, who is a hero. He is known. He blew up he was part of both Death Stars. He killed Darth Vader, defeated the Emperor. He's a hero. Everybody knows Luke Skywalker, and everyone knows he's a Jedi. So it's not like it's a clandestine thing. He should have been notified that Force users are are involved here. Second, the fact that Thrawn is rumored to be coming back. Now, he has to be probably the worst threat that the New Republic could be dealing with. All right. And it's between Ahsoka and Syndulla as this kind of like, hey, let's just kind of keep it to ourselves and you investigate. This to me sounds like it should be immediately brought up at the highest level of the New Republic, that Mon Mothma and Leia should be involved, to be like, Thrawn is coming back. They have a map. You found a map. They have the map. This to me felt much bigger than where the story was taking it. That said, I got that off my chest. I can talk about the show freely now.
Okay. Well, I would say we're only 2 episodes in.
I know. It's true.
Yeah.
And also, this is the problem. This is the problem of all Disney Plus shows set in this area.
Star Wars
is
the
that
worst.
Well, no, it's just
it's very
the shadow cast by the original trilogy is very huge.
Yeah.
But you also, I think you can't just run. And I'm used to this because I read all those expanded universe books back in the 90s where they did, Han, Luke, and Leia and Chewbacca were having a new adventure every week.
Yeah, they did everything.
And I understand how people would say, just go to Luke. Luke can fix it. Go tell him what's going on. It's sort of this corner they've written themselves into. It's like they have, because in this time period, Han, Luke, and Leia are all alive, and they are vital people in their 30s. So you have to wonder, and we all know why, because it's way too expensive to create a 30-year-old Mark Hamill every week. And I don't know if that's something that they're going to want to continue to do. However, I'm not ruling out another deep fake appearance by Luke in this show. Anakin's in this show.
Oh yeah.
What if we got a scene with Anakin, Luke, and Ahsoka?
Oh my God.
Luke and Anakin talking to each other. I mean,
the internet might explode.
This is the show where that could happen. And
oh my God. Yeah, he's all Force ghosty as Anakin.
Yes, and he could talk to his son.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh my God.
But
again, well, like
that's
what
the
I said,
problem. Our heads go to these stories.
I don't need to see these people. Like I said, I could have had a single line
just saying, "Hey, we need to tell the Skywalker."
Alert Skywalker.
People know they're not going to get Mark Hamill aged down in every episode. They know that. But the first thing you do is like what I do at the beginning of every Star Wars Disney Plus show is I think, what time period am I in? I can't remember. Where is it? Who's alive?
Yes, right.
I'm trying to remember who's around. How old are they? Yes. And the first episode, I'm like, okay, the original 3 are like just post Return of the Jedi. That's kind of post Mando. That's where we're at. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking that immediately. I was like, are they gonna like name check anybody? At least drop their names. And then because I haven't watched Rebels, and like you said, Ahsoka's kind of a free agent. In my mind, I was like, okay, she doesn't seem like, from what I've seen, also because I watched that what was that animated one that did come out?
The Tales of the Jedi. We talked about that. Yeah. Right.
I watched that. So I feel like I got a little bit about her, and she seems sort of like removed from, she does her own thing. So I was like, maybe she's just trying to wait and see what she can see before.
That's very possible.
I agree.
And now I could see Hera reaching out to Leia.
Okay,
because of the relationship that they've all had in Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Leia was in Rebels occasionally.
Yes.
Hera? You say Hera?
Hera is the Twi'lek, the green.
General Syndulla.
Yeah.
Syndulla, thank you. I heard that part.
So let's talk about the well, one thing I liked about this show that stood out to me immediately was the music. The
Yes.
music is it's very classic kind of Star Wars music. I think I really love Ludwig Göransson's work on The Mandalorian. I think he brings something different to it, and his music absolutely fits that show. But it's a lot of strange, different instrumentation that Star Wars hadn't really heard before. But I like Kevin Kiner, who's doing this show, did Rebels and the Clone Wars, and he's now been given his shot at live action stuff. And I really enjoyed the score for this.
Yeah, I thought he passed with flying colors
Like
on
a
this
lot
one.
too.
Yeah.
And, I like the music so much in this that I sat there in between episodes and listened to the entire end credits before I skipped ahead to the next episode. And that music just, I don't know, you could feel it. I mean, it had a feel to it.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
It's real Star Wars, and it's nice to watch. It's fun to watch. It feels good to watch. And I have to tell you, just like the other shows, I mean, Disney, if there's one thing Disney's getting right, is that these effects are outrageous. I mean, the show looks like a movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
This show, now I'm going to go back to like Obi-Wan and pick on Obi-Wan because I like kicking that show around. Obi-Wan looked cheap. This does not look cheap.
No.
Like when they go to Corellia and you see the Star
Everything.
Destroyers being broken down.
Awesome.
That stuff was all, and when Hera is chasing that ship through the
Transport.
atmosphere, that was all like
every time a ship
stuff.
comes into a planet's view, every time it's just Lothal, the detail in Lothal was amazing. Everything looks great.
We got back on Akbar's ship from Return of the Jedi. That's the one.
Home
slide
one.
that thing around too. They're like,
Yeah,
sit down.
they were standing in the conference room where they had the Death Star briefing, which is really cool to me.
On the effects, there was one that bothered me, but it was at the very beginning with Ahsoka and I don't remember if it's right before she went in, or I think it was more when she came out. They were panning above, and it looked like, it was when she was fighting all those droids, those HK droids.
Mm-hmm.
It looked very fake for a second. For like a split second, it looked very fake.
No, I watched the whole thing on my iWatch. It looked great to me.
Well, that's why I watched. Me and Jared watch it on 120-inch screens. I mean,
iWatch. No, that's true.
But that was the only thing I saw, and I was a little worried when I saw that, and I was like, man, they kind of botched that a little bit. And then, but the rest of the episode was fine, and even before that was fine. It was just that one kind of
I didn't notice
stood
it
out.
Yeah, I didn't either. I have to watch.
Can we talk about why these HK droids have nuclear warheads?
Because they're HKs, man. HKs don't play.
I was like,
awesome.
Okay. I was like, why is she so scared of this? And then, like, when the three of them blew up, it was a mushroom cloud, and I'm like, what is?
Need to cue the Predator's laugh right now.
Yeah, I know. She's like
all
running.
they're there to do is kill meatbags.
I thought it was awesome. I loved watching those robots just nuke the whole area. It was so cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I let's take a moment to talk about.
When she turns to run, it's so funny. She's like, nope.
And she just runs.
It's so funny.
She doesn't have the Jedi speed that Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon have, though.
Apparently not.
True.
They did
I didn't even think about that.
It's because she's too far away from the Matrix movies for them to care about it.
What?
I'm just saying.
What does that even mean?
Jedi speed came out.
Right at the Matrix. Okay, I got you. In 1999. I want to talk for a moment about Hu Wang, which is the droid. Hu Yang, not Wang. God, that's
Hu Wang. Hu Wang.
Listen, that's a different kind of
man.
droid.
He's a Clone War reboot, man. He is the Clone Wars.
He's from the Clone Wars. That is David Tennant, famously Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He voiced him.
The Doctor, please.
Huh?
The Doctor.
The Doctor, please.
The Doctor. Yes. He voiced. What's his name?
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang in a Clone Wars. which was a very interesting set of episodes. If you remember, he is a droid who is thousands of years old, and he has helped Padawans make their lightsabers through all these years.
He helped Mace Windu when he was a youngling make his
Yeah.
first lightsaber.
That's cool.
And so I think it's interesting that he's now kind of Ahsoka's sidekick.
Yeah, that's
Almost.
weird, but it's
Yeah.
cool. He's
Yeah.
a true like bridge to the past.
Exactly. And another person or droid who could maybe talk to Luke a little bit
Yeah.
and let him know about, hey, here's how things used to be.
Mm.
You know, I've made lightsabers for 2,000 years.
It's very
But,
cool.
Yeah.
And I
it's
liked how they used him as the mechanism to identify the questionable Jedi or whatever, or Sith or whatever they were
Yeah.
by their lightsabers.
Mhm.
It's very, it's
which
smart.
is where we find out that Balin was once a Jedi. And he's probably, I guess he's kind of like Dooku. He just sort of has turned from the path after the
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
You know, I'm going to theorize. I'm going to guess that he was a acolyte of Dooku. That's what I'm going to guess.
It's possible. I mean,
Yeah.
but now, I
They
mean,
share a
gosh,
barber.
you've got like 800 Inquisitors running around out there, which confuses the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
that
man,
like night.
Okay.
That
Merrick.
dude was cool.
Looks sick.
Merrick. Okay. We need to talk about this guy because there's a reason he's got a mask on, and it's because he's somebody we know. I don't know who it is.
Do you know what my brain immediately thought? I was like, is it Cal?
Is
That's
it
all
Cal
I think of.
Kestis?
From the Jedi? Yeah.
Well, what I
Hmm.
thought of, did you
I'm
ever
like,
play
they can't. They wouldn't do that.
Did you ever play The Force Unleashed?
I know about that game, but I
It's
didn't
the one
have a
with
PlayStation.
the one with
at the
Sam
time.
Witwer.
Yes.
Okay,
Star
Sam
Killer.
Witwer's
Isn't that get a
name.
D?
His name in that game was Merrick,
What?
and this
This
person
guy's name is Merrick?
is called Merrick.
See,
And
I thought he was
at
I thought he was a droid at first.
No, he's. I think he's a person.
I think he
But-
is now, but when I first saw him, I thought he was
Yeah.
like the leader droid.
But I don't know
That's
if that's going to
awesome.
be Sam Witwer when he takes his mask off.
By the way,
That
I
would be
kept-
amazing.
The HK droids, I kept getting this like they remind me of the black hole droids.
yeah, I can see that. I know what you mean, like the top of them, like
Yeah.
a little bit.
I feel like sorry, I don't to get too far away from it. I feel like I would have said the Force Unleashed guy first before Cal, which I never played that game, but I know about that game. But didn't they get all D canons?
Yeah, it did. But Dave Filoni is famous for cherry picking stuff from the old days and putting it in the new stuff.
That would be amazing.
So,
I love that.
I'll tell you,
effort, too.
you know,
he
I
loves
was-
Star Wars. That'd be awesome.
Rebels was his real baby too that he worked on. He was very proud of it, and I have to tell you, Lothal as a planet was perfectly recreated from the series from
Oh,
Rebels.
absolutely.
Oh, that's
Down
cool.
now, I have a very funny observation. Okay, and now, Lindsay, since you're you're watching this and learning about these characters for the first time, it might not matter, but I think it's kind of funny personally. So in the show Rebels, there's an art style that the whole thing was kind of crafted on, like an animation style.
Uh-huh.
Sabine was an artist, as you obviously probably already picked up on. She was always painting her Mandalorian armor different colors. She's always like painting things on the ship. She's the one who did the big mural that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
And
The mural was interesting to me.
well, what's funny is
Sorry.
the mural is painted in the style of the Rebels animation. And in the show, she's an artist. But now that it's live action, I realized she's more of a cartoonist because everything she draws is like a cartoon now. So
Yep.
that's
That's exactly what I thought. I thought
like it's all cartoons
they-
that she draws.
I was
Instead of like great
so-
art, she draws cartoons.
So she made that mural at that memorial, right?
Yes.
And I was like, that's awesome. That's not clear to me when you first see the mural because you haven't learned at that point who Sabine is or who made that. So I wrote down in my notes as I was watching it, I was like, who did they commission for this? A child?
Yeah.
No,
Like
It's identical to the show, but now that the show's
like-
live action, it still looks like the old show.
and I didn't know it was meant to be like I had no context. I didn't know anything. So I was just like, who painted this? This
She's
isn't
like-
very good.
well, I think it works as sort of this meta acknowledgement of
But
the
I
animated
knew-
show.
Yes,
Yes.
but I knew but it didn't
But like
look
in the ship, we see her old Lothcat drawings, and they're all like little cartoons now instead of like in the show. They're
And
supposed to
that
be
was-
actual like drawings of Lothcats, but in the show, now they're the
Mhm.
cartoons of Lothcats.
And I think that's what I was, not that I knew that because I didn't know that either, but I think in my mind, I don't know. I don't know what I thought, but when I first saw it, and then once I realized, I was like, oh, I get it. This is like, but at first I was like,
I think they could have taken a chance and made her an actual legitimate, decent artist in the show and not lost that. And you didn't have to carry over the Rebels part of it.
Cartoon art is good.
Well,
it's when you realize that that's what she's doing and that's her art style and that she painted it and she's a part of this memorial, but I didn't know any of that.
I don't have a real problem with this. I just thought it was kind of funny how.
I was like, what is this?
But if you remember in the show in Rebels, she was more of like a graffiti artist.
She was. That's fair.
She was always spray painting stuff.
Yes, that's true.
And so I don't know, but regardless, I thought it was an interesting nod. Something else that popped out of me immediately because I watched the last episode of Rebels before I watched the first episode of Ahsoka. Clancy Brown, our friend Clancy Brown, Mr. Krabs himself, who voiced that his character's name is Ryder. He voiced Ryder in Rebels, and now he's doing him in live action. He's the senator guy who is, like the president of Lothal or whatever. And
did he also voice the Force Buffalo?
No, okay. That was Tom Baker, another Doctor, Doctor Who. That he was the fourth Doctor. He
was in Mando though.
Clancy Brown was in Mando. He was the Deveronian with the horns.
So I feel like they're definitely got to have some of the original voice actors of the main cast in the show at some point, right? It feels like a nice thing to do.
Freddie Prinze Jr. was Kanan, and Kanan is no longer with us.
Right. Well, we might see a Force ghost at some point.
It's possible. Yeah. But
as someone else, even if not the people that they obviously Ashley Eckstein.
Talking about actors and in these roles, my own opinion, I felt that that Hera Syndulla, Ramona from Scott Pilgrim, was the weakest of the bunch for these two episodes. I thought everyone was pretty convincing. And I don't think it's her fault. I think it's just the kind of like the scenes they put her in. I thought she was the weakest of the bunch.
She's a hologram most of the time.
Yeah,
that's true.
I was like, it feels like she's not there.
And she always wears her goggles for over 10 years.
Well,
now.
Yeah, that's how she does, man.
That's her dig.
That she's married to Ewan McGregor.
In the real life?
Yes.
Did not know.
Or if she talks trash, that she got the better show.
Ooh,
I don't know. There could be some conflict there. But so it's interesting you say that. I kind of liked Hera. For me, and we could talk about this if you like, Rosario Dawson is the weakest part of the show for me. Her Ahsoka is currently not engaging. She seems to be very stoic and sometimes maybe sulking.
Yeah.
And I understand that maybe that's how she's playing her, but that is not, it's
not how Ahsoka has always been portrayed.
She needs to loosen up a little bit.
I would say so because, of course, I'm not even saying she needs to play her like Ashley Eckstein played her, but because obviously she's been through some stuff and, she's older now and she's not the same person and that's fine. But to me, she seems like she's checked out. It seems like she's bored.
I feel like she's playing her character like Luke Skywalker at the beginning of Jedi, in
like very serious,
quiet, serious presence. Because certainly Ahsoka has always been plucky and energetic and engaging in the Clone Wars. And this is definitely not how, but this is how she's been played in the live action that we've seen so far.
But I think,
show.
But I think in her appearances in Mando, she was a little more, life. She had more life to her, especially when she was engaging with Grogu and talking to him. And when she was on Book of Boba Fett, she was almost kind of playful with Luke and Din Djarin. But here, she just seems very stoic, and it's I don't know.
I was gonna say I agree, and I kind of was feeling the trying to be the serious stoic Jedi master thing that she's trying to do. It almost felt like maybe she's trying to be a good, serious, patient, zen, calm person.
Mhm.
But and at the end of episode 2, I know we're jumping all around, but like it feels like they're really taking their time to like not rush into reuniting her and Sabine as a mentorship. They're like, we're not ready. This isn't, and then suddenly it's just like she's just like, welcome aboard or whatever she says, Padawan, and suddenly they're good. And I was like, oh,
if that's what it takes,
because she was, well, what Jared was saying, she was so like stoic and frustrated, and then suddenly she's fine. And I was like, when did she turn around on this?
I was thinking that maybe that was by design.
Well, I think you're right.
Yeah, that she doesn't want to be there. Not Rosario Dawson, but Ahsoka doesn't want to be there. I don't want to be around my former Padawan who annoys the crap out of me that I walked away from. Why am I here? I'm just trying to get something done.
I'm going to throw a left field theory out.
Okay.
Talked about the music earlier. Whenever Ahsoka and Sabine were having serious conversations, typically towards the end of it, when Ahsoka would leave, you heard the theme that was played throughout both episodes that was very akin to the Leia theme in Star Wars. So I'm just wondering why. Well, first off, we don't know exactly yet why she broke off the mentorship.
Well, I think we kind of do.
Do we?
Hu Wang said Hu Wang Yang. What is his name?
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang.
It's a Y, not a W. Jared.
Okay, he actually said, "You actually have the least force capability of any person I've been exposed to."
That yes. No, I'm going along the lines of maybe there was a romantic thing starting to brew, and she broke it off.
With Ahsoka?
Yes,
no,
Ahsoka and Sabine.
But she's in love with. But she is infatuated with Ezra.
Yeah,
a weird force threesome.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, hold on. Okay, no. Talk about a person who hasn't watched Rebels. He literally says you're like a sister to me.
Oh, yeah, that's not the vibe you get watching Rebels.
Well, Lothal's a backwater.
So I'm saying I haven't watched Rebels, so to me, I thought, they set up a moment to very clearly say, hey, this isn't romantic. Don't worry about it.
But
if you were wondering, she's like pining for this guy. It's not romantic. She's like a sister to him.
Leia and Luke used to make out.
Oh my God.
It's the Outer Rim, man. It's like things happen in the Outer Rim that people don't talk about.
I'm not saying I was like feeling the Ahsoka Sabine thing. I was feeling the Sabine and what is her name? What is the Sith girl's name?
Shin.
Shin. That was a charged fight. That's all.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you something. If somebody else gets stabbed in the gut with a lightsaber and walks away from it, I'm going to turn off the TV and never turn it back on. I am done with that. I can't
abide that, huh?
And I was like, when that happened, I'm like, and I knew she wasn't dead. And I was like, Dave Filoni, what? You know better than this.
She could have just winged her instead of like run her through.
Well,
or she could have ran her through and just lifted it up and she'd be dead.
Yep. But okay. And I'll give you this. She did, obviously no major organs were impacted where she was ran through. And I think
was there immediately.
Yeah, she had immediate medical attention. So, okay, I'll give you that. But you have to stop doing this. And so I don't think it's
more exciting anyway.
I don't think it's as egregious.
All right. So I'm going to take this out of the weeds. Okay. I'm going to go real 35,000 feet here. How do we feel about the general plot? So we have a map that's been discovered that's going to lead them to Thrawn. We have the what is the eye called that they're building?
Eye of Sion.
The Eye of Sion, which looks like
the Eye of Sauron,
a super Death Star-y looking weapon, but it's getting these massive hyperdrives installed on it. That we learned that Corellia is hyper corrupt still. That Morgan Espeth has contacts in the Corellian shipyards.
We get more information about how the New Republic totally sucks.
Exactly, and which is great.
Maybe that's why Ahsoka doesn't want to tell anybody. She's like, oh,
and we've got I think the Rebels sequel is kind of to an extent in it, and now they can move on to the actual plot. And we have Thrawn, the threat of Thrawn coming back. So I mean, all in all, out of the weeds of this show, because there's always something to complain about, I think this has a lot of potential. I'm really looking forward to it. And I got to tell you, the only thing that I really, really, really wanted to see by the end of the second episode was a perspective from Thrawn, and just to kind of see like maybe a silhouette or something from where he was. Just so you know he's alive.
Yeah, I think they're saving that reveal, even though they've shown it in trailers and stuff. I think they're saving it.
I don't need the full reveal. I just needed a hint of something. Just to tease me.
I think it's interesting that they've somehow figured out he's in a different galaxy.
Yeah.
Like that is that for Star Wars, I mean, and anybody who knows anything about, space and the universe, different galaxy is quite a long way off. Lindsey, when Thrawn and Ezra were disappeared, they disappeared together. They were fighting on the bridge of Thrawn's Star Destroyer. And these Purgles, which are the space whales you glimpsed in The Mandalorian when they were in hyperspace, they attacked the Star Destroyer and pulled Thrawn and Ezra into hyperspace to parts unknown. And that's how they disappeared, which I guess in the timeline of this show, this is like 6 or 7 years ago. So that's how long they've been gone.
And did you hear I'm sorry, what was the Jedi's name again?
Balin?
He was talking about this mythical place that the younglings would talk about.
Yeah.
And so
those are fairy tales.
They're tying that in, which I like. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that place? It was the bridge of something. I want to look it up.
She looks like she's building like a Stargate or something.
But yes, she's definitely, they're trying to travel there. And for me, I'm fine, because I thought the Purgles, maybe took them to the unknown region somewhere. But for as far as Star Wars physics is concerned, if somehow those Purgles have a wormhole between galaxies, that's fine with me too. It's all, made up craziness anyway. And I think another galaxy is really interesting because it's a totally new, place. It's
Ryan Johnson is salivating.
Oh, maybe
we could just move Ryan Johnson to his own galaxy.
Maybe that's where the sequel trilogy happened, was in that other galaxy.
Well, so, I think, like Matt said, from a high level, I'm interested in what's happening. And I, of course, I like to complain. That's just how I show affection, I guess. Here's something else that they did unique to the Disney Plus shows. They started with a crawl of sorts.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
More of a scroll
than
a crawl.
Yes, but what I had wished, I wish they just would have said, F it. Let's just do a movie crawl right here. Dave Filoni throws it all out on the table and says, hey, look, this is going to be something different and special. Here's a movie crawl. And then they just do the crawler.
Instead of the scroll.
Yeah, it's kind of like
it was obviously Solo did the same thing, and I'm convinced both of these pseudo crawls were written to be crawls because they've got the same, the ellipsis, and they capitalize like things like the Galactic Empire and stuff, just like the old crawls did.
Yeah,
and I bet you he wanted to do that, and somebody just said, we save that for the movies. But
you're probably right.
I wish they would have done it.
Should have done it in reverse. Like coming towards you.
By the way, Lindsey, Syndulla's droid, who's very funny.
I love that
Chopper.
droid.
Is Chopper. And
Chopper
had a great role in Rebels, and it's really great to see Chopper live action. By the way, did you notice anybody that his voice was basically muffled English,
Yes.
And it's Dave Filoni
which
doing his
I don't
voice.
think it was quite that way in the show. But
it in Rebels, after rewatching a lot of it, it definitely is.
that's the most English speaking droid I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That doesn't speak English. That doesn't speak outright English.
It was very funny. But
Yeah.
Chopper was actually one of the highlights of the show. I thought they nailed
His
Chopper.
little arms that he does he does. And
And
Chopper. Go ahead, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
I thought Sandula was really funny with him.
Yeah.
I think, like you were saying, anything. I feel like they haven't really done, like, they did all this stuff with Sabine to, like, flesh her out and build her up at the beginning. And I feel like we just need more of her because I like her. I just don't know anything about her.
Hey, look, this show, during the action sequences, everyone shines. I think this show, I don't think this show really missed during any of the action sequences. I thought they were all really exciting and really great. Good action, good dialogue during the action sequences. A lot of fun. But it was just the spaces in between that I just thought needed to be tightened up a bit.
I really enjoyed that, that investigation on Corellia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Revealing or those guys coming out as Imperials.
Oh, that's great.
They shut down that operation.
And that did harken back a bit to like Mando season 3. But here, I kind of liked it more. I mean, because you didn't have to spend an hour with this guy walking around. You're just like, all of a sudden, okay, here we are on Corellia, and everybody's giving them sideways glances, and you're like, okay. And I like the guy. They got to be the boss who was giving the tours.
He's always kind of skeezy,
and it
felt very really authentic, though. It felt very authentic.
Absolutely.
I thought it was interesting that Ahsoka says, no, it's not loyalty, it's just greed. But they go like for the Empire before they die.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
There was some
loyalty.
Seem
like there was some loyalty there. So I don't know if that was a miss or if that's setting her up to maybe be underestimating the Empire's influence still. It feels like.
I think that's a great point.
It's not far removed. I mean, we see in The Mandalorian, there's still Imperial remnants around. So, I mean, these things still exist, even though they say they're routing them out. So, I mean, it's in the universe, and I think they should. I like them celebrating and bringing that part in.
Mm-hmm. And they made a good point when they were talking to that guy. He's like, you just don't go from a Empire to a New Republic overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, they're all staffed with former Imperial. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy that got hit with Ahsoka's lightsaber, I think he might have lost more than one limb. I need to go back and watch that. He got diced up pretty good.
Which one?
The guy that pulled his blaster in the command center, and he just got instantly sliced.
Yeah. The action sequences and the saber fights, I think they've got that just enough of that prequel, craziness that we haven't really seen since the prequels. Yeah, I kind of like it.
I think all in all, the show is off to a great start. Critiques aside, I think the critiques are I think they're warranted, and I think they'll tighten the show up. And I think this show is going to wind up, knock on wood, being a pretty fun show to watch.
Yeah.
It really will all depend on Thrawn and how impressive this person is and how well this character's written.
I thought he was great in Rebels.
Huge.
And it's the same guy playing him.
Ooh.
Oh, it's the same voice, right? Same.
Yeah, it's
the guy does the voices playing him.
Yes, and
that's cool.
His name is Lars Mikkelsen. He's Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
He's very good. So
that's great. I didn't know that either.
So I really think that's how this show is going to be judged, is how well Thrawn is and how menacing this person is. And I can't imagine that he's only in this first season of 8 episodes. I would like to think that they extend this character further, but we shall see.
Well, one of the movies that's planned is Filoni's Mandoverse movie, which brings in Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and they're all fighting Thrawn. Apparently, I don't know.
Meanwhile, at the window, Ewan McGregor's like, "Hello there, remember me?"
As a Force ghost,
he's like Hera Syndulla, please let me in, please.
I did see a nice callback to a scene in episode 1.
The probe droid
on Lothal.
No.
I thought that was a nice touch with Shin, and
Mhm.
I mean, it was very reminiscent of that scene with Darth Maul.
Yeah, where the
His
probe droid comes up and it makes the same sound and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, except that this one looks like a ball from Phantasm or something.
yeah. One more theory, and then I'll stop talking. I've heard some people theorize that Shin is Balin's daughter.
I thought that. I was like, where did he find this apprentice?
Hmm.
Did he take a youngling with him out of did he rescue one, or I don't know what he did. But
well,
I thought, is he just training her because that's his child?
I mean, we could guess that she could be a teenager, right?
Yeah, she could be. I would put her at 18, 19
so
years old.
He may have had a relationship and left the Jedi because of that, and had a daughter. That's fair. That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
And one more thing is the ages of people. Okay. Now I looked this up. We are meant to believe, okay, in this series, Ahsoka her age is now 45 years old, which tracks because Rosario Dawson is 45 years old.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
I did think about this too. Sabine would be 30. Yeah, I buy it.
The actress playing her's 29.
Yeah,
really?
I buy it.
I was gonna say,
and then
good.
And the actress playing Hera is 39.
Okay, Hera would be a little older.
Hera was older in Rebels.
Yeah. Hera was older than Ahsoka,
but
so
she's a Twilight. I mean, she.
Yeah,
could be,
who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you tell me the actress is 29, then
I think we're okay in ages. I think we're right.
She just looks great.
And I guess I'm still in the Rebels mode. I think of Sabine as like in her early 20s or late teens. And
that's the best part about being right after Jedi is that people can still be relatively young and not.
Yeah, that's true.
Drinking seal milk in some weird planet.
I really liked Sabine in this show.
I think Sabine is my favorite character.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot there, a lot of complexity and things about her. I mean,
and
she showed a lot. You learned a lot about her when she wasn't even talking.
Yeah, and one thing that Lindsey mentioned, and I promise I'll stop talking because I know. The thing that to me is weird is that now during Rebels, Ahsoka and Sabine barely spoke. Ahsoka was more concerned with Ezra and Kanan because they were the Jedi. So she was really off with them more than with Sabine.
She kind of came in late in the game too in Rebels too. She wasn't always there, was she?
Yeah. She came in the second season.
Yeah.
But her and Sabine, they shared some scenes, but there was nothing to lead you to believe that they were going to have this sort of mentor Padawan master relationship.
Right.
And because this is something that's totally new that has happened between the end of Rebels and the beginning of this show. That's something that none of us have ever seen.
And that was surprising to me because it really it sets it up along with all the other stuff that it carries in as history and like just sets it up like this. Oh, you don't know, you didn't see it, but there was all this stuff between them, and it like makes it seem like to me, it seemed the same as everything else. Like, it's all this stuff
it didn't stand out.
I'm going to say
but it's interesting that it's completely new.
I'm not saying that I don't like what they're doing with the mentorship, but did we need another Jedi? Did we need it? I don't think it was necessary to try and force her into being a Force person because that's really not what happened in Rebels.
No.
And to be fair, Sabine in the show Rebels was a great star and a very well fleshed out character on her own without having to give her these additional abilities.
She had all that, the Mandalorian
she was
baggage
awesome
with her, and she had the darksaber for a short time.
Is she too Mandalorian, so they had to make her a little more Jedi because it was too close to the Mandalorian?
Well, I don't know. I didn't know if they would stay away from the Mandalorian stuff since they've already established that's
what I mean. Maybe they
had
to pivot and shift gears a little bit.
I did think it was interesting when she pulled her helmet out and set all her Beskar out. Kevin Kiner does a slight nod. He switches over to some more exotic instruments, maybe to channel a little bit of
Mando.
Ludwig Göransson there. But
I heard that too.
I don't know if they're going to be really leaning into a lot of that Mando stuff since it's been done to death
Yeah.
already.
I mean,
if I'd ever hear about the Darksaber again, it'll be
know.
too soon.
It's true.
And
it was interesting because I feel like that's why the calling her Padawan kind of threw me a little. I was like, I can see them being like an apprentice and like teacher and teaching her how to use a lightsaber. I mean,
Yes.
she maybe will never be able to use one as well as a Jedi, but Ahsoka isn't a Jedi and she doesn't really care about the Jedi stuff. So a non-Jedi can use one.
Right there is
Why does she have to be a Padawan?
it's confusing to me. Like, when did she re-enter the Jedi mindset? Because she did walk away from the Jedi
when they were all dead.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, she walked
That's
away.
before that. I know this.
no,
walked
she
away.
did leave.
She walked away, and
because,
for her
you know-
to, you're right, for her to take a Padawan on, it's like, wait a
And-
minute.
Feels
You know,
weird.
and I still don't think they're going to imbue Sabine with any sort of super force powers.
Force powers.
Because they mentioned it
see.
in this show, and she was training with the Darksaber with Kanan, and Kanan's like, okay, you don't really have an aptitude for the Force, but I can still show you how to wield this saber.
Yeah.
And they did that in Rebels.
Mhm.
So if all of a sudden Sabine gets a midi-chlorian injection and she's, super
no.
Jedi, that's going to be really weird.
I mean, she might meet Ezra, her brother, again, and get a Force injection, but
Oh,
no, it's terrible.
Okay, Matt,
oh.
I think it's time to wrap this up.
Ahsoka, folks, we have 6 episodes left for this season. I'm very excited to see the next one drop. Again, from all the the critiques and the nitpicking, this show is off to a good start. I think it's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Can't wait to see when Jack Black and Lizzo show up.
Oh my God, did not age well.
She hasn't eaten Jack Black by now.
Yeah,
And,
I don't like that.
hey, look, let's just hope that they take the high road and that they stick to where Andor did best, and
Yes.
don't get silly with it and just tell a good story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
what we're
want
going to
more
be,
Ahsoka, like more.
yeah,
She's the title character.
It's
I want
time.
more
You're right.
Ahsoka stuff.
Episode 3 better be her, and it better be
And-
some flashbacks, and it better be some fun stuff.
we're going to
It better
be
be all the stuff, right?
We're going to
all
be
the stuff.
dropping. We're going to have Luke Skywalker in here, maybe Han Solo. You never know.
We might even get Lando showing up. Who
Hey,
knows?
Lando, Billy D, let's go. Or Donald Glover, who knows? We're going to be dropping these episodes, the Ahsoka Archives, every 2 weeks. So we're going to let it breathe and marinate. And that way we'll have a little more meat on the bone when we sit down to talk about these episodes. So we're going to see you back here in 2 weeks. And don't you guys go running off or getting stabbed in the gut with a lightsaber. For goodness sake, don't do that. And we'll see you next time.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.